Welcome to Milo Talks, a new edition where I talk to people on the phone because safety first.
The following phone conversations are with a mom in Utah with a full-time career and 4 kids, a stay-at-home dad in Florida with 2 boys, and a Louisiana 4th grade school teacher, all who've been facing similar challenges. So my good friend Stephanie is on the phone with me. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for coming to the show all this way.
You're welcome.
All this
My
way.
pleasure.
All this way as you are in Salt Lake City, Utah. Or no, you're not. You're in Provo.
Yeah. No, somewhere in between that.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. You're somewhere
City.
so close.
I'm in Utah.
You're in Utah, and I am in Diamond Head, Mississippi this evening. So here's my question. Going to school, getting up, fighting, because you have had some fights, getting some schoolwork done. Did you find certain ages of your kids were harder than other ages of your kids?
Yeah, I do think that age has something to do with it, but I also think that the kid's personality has a lot to do with it. But specifically, my 8-year-old has been the most difficult to get him to do school at home. But in the first month, he was on board. It was fun and exciting because, instead of having to get up at 6:30 in the morning and rush and put a uniform on and eat breakfast while you're walking out the door and all of the structure and go of the school day, we replaced that with, hey, buddy, you can sleep in as long as you want. And whenever you get up, then we'll have a nice breakfast, slow and easy. It can take as long as you need to, and then we'll start school. And so he was still in the school mindset as far as mentally sharp and ready to learn for that first month. And it was easy and we had no problems. And it was almost like May 1st, exactly 1 month into this new process, he was just done. And he was like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And suddenly it became a daily, I guess you could call it a fight, with me saying it's time to do your work and him saying, I don't want to. And, me trying consequences for a while. Well, if you don't do your work, then this is going to happen. And then how about a reward system? If you do your work, then this will happen. And we have tried it all. And, we have good days and bad days, but all in all, he's not enjoying it. I think he was the kind of kid that just really thrives in the structure and, the positive peer pressure. Another person other than mommy asking you to do something, kids just sometimes respond better to other people, than a parent asking them to do something. My 5-year-old, on the other hand, though, loves it and is all about the school at home and is just a happy camper and will do anything and everything that I ask her to do, and will do tomorrow's lessons if I were to ask her to without complaining. And so, part of it is that, maybe kindergarten is a little bit less strenuous than 2nd grade, but at the same time, I do think a lot of it's just personality. She wants to please and she's just happy to be diligent, and it's just a different type of personality trait.
Now the 5-year-old can see how the 8-year-old's affecting you at the same time, right?
Yeah. And I try.
So do you think that plays on it a little bit, that she can see? I mean, the whole family can see.
Yeah. No, she is absolutely the kind of kid that, as soon as her brother is in trouble, she's coming over and be like, Mom, can I get you anything? Cranking it up, I see where this is going. I'm going to move myself up on the list. She absolutely...
I am your favorite.
Hair. Mom, you're so pretty. You're so pretty, Mom. Can I get you something to drink? While her brother is flailing and throwing a temper tantrum on the floor in the next room over. So, no, I do think that is absolute motivation for her that,
That's incredible.
Yeah.
She's such a caretaker, right? She's going to be a great mom herself.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, she is. And she does take advantage of those opportunities to, she's the youngest, so she's got that, last child syndrome, whatever you want to call that, and loves attention. And, if her big brother's acting up, it's oh, this is my chance. This is my chance.
Look how I shine.
Exactly.
Look how mommy loves me.
Exactly.
Look how I stroke her hair and get her something cold to drink.
Yep. She's all about it.
If only you could do this.
Right. Oh, and then she'd be like,
awesome.
Mom, what homework do you want me to do?
Oh my God.
Yes. So, Yep.
Wow. It's crazy how young they learn, right?
Oh,
that is amazing.
It really is.
At 5 years old, she's figuring it out. Look how I sneak in here, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the favorite child.
Exactly.
Look at me.
I'm moving up on
I'm
the
sitting
list.
in her lap.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you actually you painted a picture for me once with her sitting in your lap as your 8-year-old is like throwing a tantrum.
Yes.
And she's like, I'm pristine in here, the princess. Here I am.
Exactly. And that just makes her brother,
the mom throne.
It makes her brother so mad too. Like that just makes it worse. So then I'm trying to balance it. Like, I love you too, sweetheart. You're wonderful. And then let me move my attention back to your brother who's now throwing a fit right here on the floor. So yeah, it's hard.
Wow. So you have to really balance it out. Now, not to mention your other 2 children seem to be doing fine.
They are.
Your oldest?
Yeah. So my oldest is a self-starter. We have actually homeschooled her for years and years. And so she finished out, when I sent everybody back to school, she finished out at homeschool because it was her senior year. And it's kind of silly to go back to a new school for 1 year when she was really thriving and doing well with homeschooling. So she is all about efficiency, and she, sets her own pace and does amazingly well. So she was never a problem, and this has really changed nothing for her and her schoolwork. My 13-year-old definitely was, it's kind of the opposite of the 8-year-old. He started out really struggling and just learning all the concepts of, 2 different online platforms. His school, for some reason, is using 2 platforms. Some teachers are choosing to use Google Classroom, and some teachers are choosing to use the back office manage back software that the school had been using before quarantine. And so he literally has like back and forth between these 2 platforms. And so that made it difficult. So there was definitely a learning curve there, and just getting into the structure of the day. I would find him sitting in front of his computer. Like, he'd get to the computer about 8:30 or 9, and then it was there all day. And in my mommy brain, I'm just like, well, he's diligently working on school. And then at 4:00, I still see him in front of the computer, and I'm like, buddy, are you really still doing school? And he's like, yeah, I've still got a couple subjects left. And that's when it occurred to me that he was sitting in front of his computer, but not actively doing schoolwork, but was there for 8 hours. And so I was like, okay, well, if you need a break, and we had these conversations, I need you to step away from that computer, like get out and do something, and like let your brain take a break, and then come back and actually engage in school. Cause he was at the computer and maybe even logged into, classrooms, but daydreaming or playing on his phone, or, looking at an assignment and then just kind of staring at the screen. And so it was a matter of like figuring that out with him and encouraging him to, get in and look at one thing at a time. And that's the other thing with this online courses, is that it can be very overwhelming. Like for him, he's 8th grade. Mm-hmm. He's now got 8 different subjects, and it's like clockwork. At 8:05, teachers upload assignments for the day. And so boom, 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 he's got all these messages coming from 8 different teachers at one time. And so think about the mind of a 13-year-old boy who's now got this teacher and this teacher, versus, a typical day is, you go to your first period class and you're able to focus on that one class and do what's required of you in that one class. And then you walk out the door of that class down the hall and you enter your second period class, where your brain now shifts gear into that new subject, and you're held, the attention is held by the teacher standing in front of you, and you are required to respond and engage in classroom work and, write down things in your notebook. So now we're switching off, and at 8:05, all of these teachers are uploaded, and he's getting notifications from various places, and he's clicking on one screen. And it's like, oh my goodness, my history teacher assigned so much for the day. Now I'm feeling overwhelmed. And then clicks on English, and oh my goodness, I forgot about my book report. And then clicks and clicks and clicks. And suddenly he was overcome with this anxiety. And so
he'd freeze.
Yeah, right. And then he just stares at his screen. So it's totally different from what our kids are used to. And so it was a matter of like me pulling him back in and saying, okay, let's just focus. And even within one subject, there might be a warm up and then an assignment. And then teachers are wanting other kids to engage with other children and do like comment on their comments. And so it's like a three-part assignment in a lot of these classes. And so even then that was overwhelming for him. And so I'm like, okay, but I need you to, let's just do the warm up. And sometimes it takes me sitting next to him at our kitchen counter and walking through it with him, because it's so overwhelming. And so that first month was just completely like so much for him. Very overwhelming. 8-9 hours of school every day, me doing a lot of it right there with him. And now the second month is transitioning, and he's figuring out how, like the ebb and flow of things and what teachers are requiring what, and the teachers are allowing for a little bit more time for them to get subjects done. And they're doing some live, some like Zoom classroom things together. And so he is like finding his groove now, as we're coming to the end of the year, he's finally figured this out.
As we enter the end.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And some days he's able to do all of his school now in just 3 or 4 hours versus, I'm not joking when I say he was in front of that computer between 9 and 4 most days for the first month that we were doing this online school. So definitely an improvement with him.
Wow. Okay. So how much more time in school do you have?
We're rounding out this week. I think we have 1 to 2 weeks left. Some testing is being done next week. And then I think they have an opportunity to finish up like missed assignments the following week.
Okay. And then you go into summer.
Yes. Can you say that again? And then we go into summer.
Are you happy for summer? Because the only thing that changes, are you going to really be happy for summer? Why are you happy for summer?
Well, the school, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. I've had to just give myself some peace of mind knowing that I need to just allocate 4 or 5 hours to do school with the kids. Because I am a multitasker. And I own a couple of businesses. And so I was, for the first month, really trying to like set up one child and then like do some work on the side or sit next to them and like do some of my business stuff. And like, I'm available for questions, but I'm going to be here on my computer. And then as soon as I got one child situated, then another child is calling me and that person, needs me to print something for them. Or can you look over this paragraph that I wrote? And then the third child is, yelling from another room. And so I spent the first month literally like hopping around like a bunny all over my house being called, Mom, I need you. And then I'd sit and just have a moment. And it made me crazy. Absolutely like mental breakdowns, emotional breakdowns, some really bad days. And I'm a really happy person and I can handle a lot of stress and pressure. And it was just like caving in on me. And so when I gave myself more of a schedule, I guess you could say, and understood really that this school obviously is important. And 3 out of my 4 kids really do need me like hands on for all of the morning. If we start school at 8:30 or 9, like I can just like pencil in until after lunch, maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock. We're going to be doing some sort of school with all of these kids. Mm-hmm. And then a couple hours for my businesses in the afternoon, because, once the kids are done with school, they are happy campers. Like they are like, okay, see you, Mom. And they're off and playing with friends in the neighborhood and jumping on the trampoline and watching TV and doing all the different things. And suddenly I'm like, okay, now I can have some time for me to do the things that are on my to-do list to maintain businesses and client support and things like that. And so, and then now I'm figuring out even some time for me personally. So just I can maintain some balance and not go crazy. I want to be a happy mom and I want to be able to smile and have joy in my family. And let's face it, moms just kind of, set the tone for the whole family and the whole family experience and the whole family environment. And so on days when I was having a bad day, it was just hard on everybody. And so then there's that pressure to just want to not have a bad day, but dang it, sometimes you just need to let yourself have a bad day, So I did. I let myself have a few bad days, and then I've added in some scheduling structure, which has been super helpful. And now as the world starts to open back up, like I treated myself to a pedicure yesterday, and it was just magical and so enjoyable.
You got a pedicure?
I did. My very favorite place is open now, and it was just so awesome. Yeah. So I feel like a new human.
A sense of normalcy.
Yes. With a little pampering. Yeah. Normalcy plus pampering on top of that, it equals greatness. Complete greatness.
I want to go back to something you just said for a second. That's really interesting to me that you said that mom set the tone for the house, for the family.
Yeah.
Do you really feel that burden is on you to flit around and be happy and joyful and that everyone will follow suit like you're the song of the house?
Yeah, I do. And maybe it's not like this with every other family, but I absolutely think that obviously we're allowed to have bad days, but, a mom that's happy and greets her children with love and joy, like our morning routine. Some of my kiddos just need snuggles. They just do. My little ones just need some time one-on-one with me. And so I just notch that out. Like, I understand that is a very important part of their day. In fact, this goes back to when we put my 8-year-old back in school. He struggled and had some home behavioral issues. Not in school, he was perfect in school, but he would come home and just really have a hard time. And I realized that, obviously that was a big transition for him to go from homeschooling to real school, throughout the day, a long day away from mom. And so when I shifted and saw that he was struggling, I intentionally started to wake him up with his permission 15 minutes earlier than he needed to get up to be able to get out the door on time. And literally every single day we sit on the sofa and snuggle, and I would just rub his head, and, we'd have a little morning chat together. And when we started to do that, his entire day changed. And so that goes back to, like, how are you starting your day? How is the environment set for your family? And I think that dads are just as important, because when my husband has a bad day and then trickles down and kind of everybody's like, oh gosh, why is daddy so whatever today? We can just feel the tension, and then I get tense and everybody else gets tense. But specifically moms, like we're the go-to for our kiddos, and they really do pick up our vibes. And so I'm all about choosing happiness. I do think that happiness is a choice. It's not a feeling, that you can choose to be joyful and be happy. And even though circumstances sometimes dictate otherwise. And believe me, there's been plenty of days that I'm like, I should be choosing happiness right now, but I'm really grouchy and I'm just going to be in this grouchiness. But, I might only let myself be grouchy for 30 minutes and then pull myself out of it and choose joy after that. But it's a decision, and it does affect all of our little humans that, are just watching us and learning from us and picking up the emotions that we're putting off. So it's important.
But I wanted to say I am proud of you.
Thank you.
And you are raising amazing little humans. And thank you for sharing your story.
It was my pleasure. Let's do it again sometime soon.
So I understand are you working, or are you at home full time?
No. I'm in a very fortunate position to be medically retired.
Okay. Did you say unfortunate position or a fortunate position?
Fortunate.
Okay. Unfortunate. Okay. Because I thought, well, as you say that, you actually, it has awarded you the ability to stay home with your boys, right?
Yep. That's it. The fortunate part of it.
That is fortunate. So how old are your boys?
One is 7 and the other one is 11. So I got a 5th grader and a 1st grader.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you said 7-11?
Yes, ma'am.
That's funny. Okay. You're going to have to stop calling me ma'am. I will punch you. Is there a way for you to not do that? I mean, it's fine if you have to, if it's like a knee-jerk reaction, but
I just feel weird when I say yes. I feel like it's like a smart aleck comment.
Oh, like wow. Okay. Well, okay, then I'm gonna let it slide. I'm gonna let it slide this time. That's fine.
I'll try.
Okay. All right. So you have a 7 and 11-year-old, and how is homeschooling? So before this happened, they were going to public school. They were in school every day, regular life, and then they are told they have to go home. How prepared were you all for that?
Not very prepared at all, honestly, and neither were the teachers, because they kept sending. We use a messaging app called Class Dojo.
Okay.
And then you can access the different teachers and message them about the work and stuff. And our son, our oldest, was already having problems in math, so he was getting help in math. So not having that, and then very unclear direction from the teachers over just messaging. You didn't even talk to them on phone. Was very difficult. And then you had to download, like, I think we use 5 or 6 different platforms within these different apps, like Google Classroom. There's iReady. And they get the dates wrong of when they need to be turned in. And it's really confusing. It is very confusing with no direction.
And so, and this confusing for you, and you're home full time to help them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
I couldn't imagine somebody that was working full time and then stuck home, not having to deal with that every day and then be thrown into it.
sure.
That it would drive somebody nuts.
No, and just for clarity, you're actually in Florida. So
Yes, ma'am.
is the platform your schools are using, is it statewide or just in your county or
I
city?
believe it is statewide,
Okay.
but they do. They send their own stuff out. Like his math teacher, he has 2 teachers. They both do actually. So, which there's another. I don't. Am I able to?
Well, we want to be kind with this. I really, it's not so much. I'm more interested in how you have solved the problems for yourself. Like you've been given a task to keep your kids safe, keep your kids at home, lock them down, and educate them. So how did you grapple with this? How did you handle it?
I tried to keep it as normal as possible. Honestly, we still went out and did walks. They towards the second week or third week of doing it, they sent a message about wanting us to upload PE for them, and I thought that was absurd. Yes, I thought that was absurd. If you are parents and don't know how to have fun with your kids and do something extracurricular, like that's absurd to me. So
Sure.
that kind of bothered me. It, coming from a teacher telling you how to be with your children.
Okay.
But other than that.
So there might have been a need. So just because you are having the luxury, I'm going to say luxury, of being able to stay home with your 2 perfect children and help them with their educational process. And because of who you are, you're like, hey, let's get outside and do some activity. I would honestly say that for some parents who may be working full time still from their computers or whatever, they may not even think about that. They're like, stay inside. Like we're not.
I couldn't imagine then having to do the platforms and schoolwork on the computer with their children. If they even more than one, that would be hard.
Sure. So 2 months after we're into this, you're about to finish. When do the boys finish their school year? Like in the next week or 2?
May 29th is their last day.
And do you feel like they were able to get a solid educational foundation with you for the last 2 months? I mean, were you able to like help them?
The crud that they send out, and it's exactly what it is. It's crud.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Because they won't even double check what they're sending out. It will be issued out as some digital copy from like 2012, and they're teaching them. Like math has changed again on how they count by 1s and 10s and stuff. So that was really hard. And then the numberings would be off, and that was confusing.
So it was a struggle. This whole thing has been a real struggle.
Yes, ma'am. And then he's got to do it digitally, and then for that paper, take a picture and then upload that. Go ahead.
So, okay. Did you feel when you got control of the situation, if you ever really did, once you felt like you were on steady ground as a teacher father in the household, do you feel like you were able to help your boys though, like get through so they got through it? They're going to pass. Their grades didn't slip. Once
I realized what was going on, like the teachers were even confused. They had no idea what was going on.
Right.
I realized that it's not just us. Like, you get frustrated and you're asking them questions and they're getting frustrated and they're trying to figure out, who above them. So I understood the portion of it. So like there were the problems with the programs would go down, and then, then everyone's on a messaging board, and then that's lagging because everybody's on it. They're wanting to do Zoom video calls. And that, I don't know.
Did you do the Zoom video calls?
I did one. I'm not a big social media guy. I get creeped out by, letting my kid be all on videos and all that stuff. I'm sorry.
Wow. You know what? You just actually entered into a whole new space I hadn't thought about. I mean, there's already an issue with parents who may not have had the money or resources to have computers in their houses for any of this to begin with, right? So that's like a whole nother level. So you were able to actually afford to have laptops, computers, or whatever the kids needed to do an online platform. However, if you are a person who doesn't feel like your life needs to be online, exposed to the interwebs, that goes along with against your whole psyche, right? That has to mess with you as a person.
Yep,
like here, my kids, my images, their work, their names, their ages, all this information is now out there. So there's a part of your brain that's in meltdown mode.
Yes, ma'am. They're having us take like just still pictures, like like holding books and uploading those, videos, video calls. And yeah, I didn't feel comfortable with doing it.
Okay.
So unless it was a mandatory, they had to be on a video or a picture upload, I chose not to do it.
Sure. Now they can do the Zoom calls and not access the camera, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you open to that, or was that?
No, the only Zoom call I took was when it was for all of the classmates to see each other. I thought it would be nice, him to say hi to his friends. But then it was the teacher would mute all the other kids and one kid would talk. And by an hour in, I'm like, hey, man, we got to go. It's time for lunch. So he wasn't able to really do much.
Right. That's a long time to sit and look at your classmates on a computer. That's so.
Well,
that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But how would you rate yourself as a teacher father? How'd you do?
Personally, I probably did about on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being like, oh, I kicked his butt. I was about a 7, but a lot of YouTube.
Not bad.
A lot of YouTube. I'm not going to lie.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. On some of the math that they were like, the questions were so awkward that they made no sense. And you would read it.
And and not to call you up, but how old are you?
Me? Shoot, you had to ask me that.
Oh my gosh. And we were talking about math. How old are you?
Man, I don't keep track of time.
Oh, wait, how old are you?
I'm 35.
Okay. And the only reason I ask is I want to know how long you've actually been out of school, because at just about 50, if someone said, hey, you need to drop down and like do these equations for these kids, I would probably panic because I haven't had to look at an equation for many, many years. And so it's completely out of my wheelhouse or my thought process at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
and some of the imaging too, they'll ask a question and you can only see it head on. You can't pick it up and look at the object, and they'll ask a weird question and tell you, oh, pick this image, and they look identical, but it's supposed to be at a different angle. If that makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
Like one picture will be a shaded, like elongated square with a cone on top. And the next one will be the elongated square with a triangle on top, but they're the exact same picture, but they're supposed to be at other angles. And that's where I'm like, this makes no sense.
So you struggle just trying to learn it yourself so you could help your children.
A simple question like that.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
That's understandable.
That's where I'm like, what? How did I miss that? Trying to help him.
So tell me your positive takeaway from this entire experience.
Our children wanted to be homeschooled to begin with.
So they won.
Yes, ma'am.
They're like more, and you got quality time with your boys.
Yes, ma'am. And that's how I enjoy that, though. I like I was saying, I couldn't imagine being a working person working 12, 14 hours a day, not having time to get dinner usually in the evening for your children, but then just being stuck at home and trying to work and having to deal with all this. Sure. Like, that's craziness.
Yeah. Well, I think this caught a lot of people clearly off guard, unprepared. Unprepared schools, teachers, educational systems, children. I think homeschoolers had a leg up. They were ready. They were already like, we've been doing this. What are you guys doing? We've been doing this for years. We are professionals. But so a lot to be learned. And I think if anything, you being able to spend that time with your boys, I'm sure is priceless. And I'm sure they are thankful for you. I would imagine that you are a great dad and that they remember you on Father's Day.
Well, I hope so. They usually got to get reminded by everybody. But yeah. I hope they feel that way one day.
Oh, well, thank you so much for taking my call. I so appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Hello.
Hi, Jordan.
Hey.
Hi, this is Milo. How are you?
Hey, Milo. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. So we don't know each other.
No.
Great.
That's okay.
I'm clarifying that because I'm recording our conversation.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Well,
you're
I
like,
was expecting that.
you're like, I know we don't know each other. I know. It was more for other people, not so much for you.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's fine.
And you are a teacher.
Yes. Yep. I am a 4th grade teacher.
Oh,
Mhm.
4th grade. How old are you if you're in 4th grade?
You are 9 turning 10. I mean, you turn 10 in 4th grade.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Big steps. You get to double digits.
I know it is a big deal. I remember when I was really excited to turn double digits. It's a big step in transition in 4th grade for sure.
Yeah, I definitely don't remember that. And I'm not really sure. I don't really think it was.
Grade, go ahead.
I'm just not really sure it was a big deal for me. Yeah, but I was premature for my age.
Mm-hmm. Well, everybody has those years of school that they remember. I remember 4th grade, I did not have a good teacher. And she was my first teacher that I just didn't connect with. And so that stood out to me. And I got in trouble for the first time in 4th grade. And I think I didn't do, anyway. So long story short, I remember 4th grade very
wow.
well.
And now you are a 4th grade teacher. Do you feel like, did you pick that on purpose because of your 4th grade experience?
I did not. If you asked me several years ago if I would be a 4th grade teacher, I would probably not believe you, honestly. I think, teaching is something that I come from a big family of teachers, and I've always loved kids. But I guess I didn't expect to teach them, but it kind of just fell into my lap. And I don't know, really quickly, I got certified and landed this job, and it's been 5 years. So I did not expect it, but I've enjoyed it.
You're a 4th grade teacher in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you originally from Louisiana?
I am. I'm from New Orleans.
You don't sound like you're from New Orleans because in all the movies,
I know.
I don't know what accent that is. I don't know what they're doing.
It's kind of like the typical New Orleans accent is like a yak accent. It's kind of like if you live in Chalmette or in certain parts of New Orleans, you're going to hear that accent more. It's kind of like a New York accent, but with a little Southern twist. I do not have that.
Can you do it?
No. I mean, it's like, I don't know, going down to New Orleans. Oh gosh, don't make me do this.
Yeah.
It's like it's basically kind of like a Boston-y New York accent. And there's kind of like a twang to it. And I think that I used to actually bartend. I don't know, maybe this needs to be off the record.
That's you used to bartend? Anyway. No.
But
did you put yourself through school? That's fine.
I know.
That you worked hard. It's okay.
Yeah, I know. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. But they always were expecting me to have an accent, I think, because you hear it in the movies, like you said, but no accent.
Slightly disappointed. That's fine. Okay, so it's fine. I'm going to find someone with that movie-like accent, even though it's completely false. I have yet to hear it. So let's talk about this. You've been a teacher for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You're weathered good for it. You know what you're getting into. You got a plan, and then all of a sudden, you're told, "Oh, your students aren't coming to school." Mm-hmm. What were you thinking at the time when this first started as a teacher? What is going through your mind?
You're talking about distance learning.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't know the severity of it. Like when it was first announced, it was just supposed to be a month. And I guess we kind of knew that it was coming, but it didn't really hit me until maybe about 2 weeks in of distance learning that this was going to kind of be it for the rest of the year. And I don't think, I heard the announcement after I had kind of said goodbye to my kids for the day. So I didn't even get a chance to really sit down with my class and say, this is how it's going to be. And, let's go ahead and pack up and get prepared. I mean, they still have most of their personal belongings in their desks. Like I don't know, it just kind of happened really suddenly. But yeah, it didn't hit me until a couple of weeks in, and it was a difficult transition. I am not super tech savvy. And so it was a really big adjustment for me to learn all these new platforms. And I don't know. I wasn't into it at all. Like, I wasn't excited about it. I need to have my kids there to feed off of their energy and
how
to give them
many
feedback.
Platforms are you using?
Well, we're mostly using Google Classroom to push out assignments and assessments. And we were using Zoom for a while to do morning meetings every morning, just to see their faces and to, share the agenda for the day and answer any questions that they had. And it gave them an opportunity for them to chit chat with each other. But we got off of Zoom because of those security reasons, and started doing Google Meet, which is through Google Classroom. So it's mostly all Google based, which is nice because we already kind of were a Google centered school. So that wasn't as difficult of a transition for us.
How many students do you have in your class?
27.
And do all 27 students have access to the internet and to a computer?
No, I would say probably half of my class didn't have a Chromebook. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but many of them didn't. And our school actually pushed out Chromebooks to many kids at Morris Jeff, the school that I work at. And so that was definitely a blessing. And then some of my kids have internet issues, but they kind of got them worked out the first couple of weeks. And
is there any child in your class? We can only talk about your class and your direct. Of your children, were there any left behind? Are there any that are unable to do the work, unable to participate?
I have one kid in particular that didn't get a Chromebook from the school, was kind of late on buying a Chromebook. Mom, I think, worked her hardest to get one, but most of his work he was doing over a phone, which you can do some of it, but some of it is like impossible to do some of the assignments. So I would say that the majority of them have been able to access everything except for maybe one or two. And I think also it might not be internet and having access to the resources as much as maybe just kind of family issues, and stuff that maybe I don't, I'm not super aware of, but.
And it's hard to do that from over the phone. Sure.
Yeah.
So how do you structure your work day? Like before you're going to school, you have to be there at a certain time. You open up the blinds, you get your coffee, you talk to your fellows, teachers, high-fiving in the hall. That's how I envision it. But now,
I love that. That's great.
But now you're in your PJs. You may put on a fresh shirt, maybe comb your hair for your Google meeting. So what is what's a day in the life of a teacher now?
I'm sure it's different for everyone. For me, I definitely wake up a little bit later, which is nice because I don't have to, be available as early. Okay. I have morning meeting every morning. So that kind of gets me up, gets me moving, seeing my kids. I usually am drinking my coffee over the Google Meet meeting. We're all very tired together, but that kind of starts my day off. When I wasn't really, I don't know, it was very much of an adjustment the first couple of weeks, but I slowly and steadily got into a routine. So morning meeting, I would do some work for a couple of hours, doing assignments, getting kind of prepared for the week. And then every day we have office hours. So we have an hour, each of us fourth grade teachers, all the teachers have an hour each day that they are available for all kids whenever the kids need us. So from 11 to 12, we had office hours where the kids could come into our Google Meet and ask us any questions that they had when, because they start assignments pretty much after morning meeting, and did that. And then, it's so weird because it's like, you can step away and go to the bathroom whenever you want to and
Right.
get lunch. And I don't know, I'm very much personally like, I need structure and I need routine in my life. And I become a very strange person when I don't. And so I made sure that I was doing the same things every day. And I can't vouch for all teachers, but I feel like as a teacher, you have to typically be very organized and structured. And so I would imagine that many of us kind of fell into our own routines. And I don't know.
Do you guys all talk? Do you guys have your own Google meetings?
So we as a fourth grade team decided that we were going to each plan one subject, and instead of having to plan it all we decided to kind of departmentalize a little bit. And so we decided to have our office hours all at the same time, because I'm not planning reading and writing. And so if a kid came to me in my office hour and had a question specific to that, my coworker who is planning that would be able to answer that child better, So we decided to collaboratively have our office hours. And we're friends, so we talk all the time.
Okay. So you're not high-fiving in the halls, but you're still high-fiving.
Yeah, we're
Virtually.
doing some air-fiving. Yeah.
Now, what is the talk for the fall? Do you think you'll go back to school? Has your school announced anything for fall?
No, not officially. There's some options that our principal has emailed us. That's basically like, we're either going to continue to implement this distance learning starting the year off in the fall, or we'll go back. But, there's going to be all these different stipulations. Like, we'll have alternating days, we'll have smaller groups, smaller class sizes. The younger kids will go, but the older kids will stay at home, or we'll do some type of combination of these, but nothing has been decided for sure yet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how are you holding up as a teacher without her students?
It's hard. I think I love my kids. Like in this class that I had this year, they were very special. And I miss them. And like I said earlier, I really feed off of their energy, and I need to be able to give them feedback instantly. And you can't really do that over these platforms. And I know that many of these kids need routines and structures just like I do. And they benefit greatly off of that. And so it's not ideal, making it work. And Morris Jeff is doing an incredible job. What we've been doing with, all this distance learning, but it's not my favorite.
No, I don't think anyone's like saying, "Oh, I love this. This is great. I can't wait to continue this forever." I don't think anybody is saying that. I imagine it's hard. I do not have children. I know people with children.
Sure. Right.
And I see my friends struggling as they try to learn math equations and how to figure out homework, and they're watching YouTube videos and they're guessing. So I had spoken and interviewed a mom from Utah and a father in Florida that were both doing the distance learning, and I thought it only fair for me to at least connect with a teacher and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" So I really appreciate you taking the time to let me talk to you.
Of course.
And all 13 of my listeners will just love to hear this.
Oh, great. Well, it was my pleasure.
Very popular.
That's great. No, I love, this is good to talk this out too. It's just been helpful for me I feel like it's been like a slight therapy session.
Oh,
like a 20-minute
great
therapy
session.
session.
Send you my bill.
No, please.
Like a pizza. Well, when we get past this, it'll be lovely to meet you in person. But thank you for sharing this with me, and I hope you get your kids back in the fall.
You're so welcome. I do too. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. You can find me at Facebook at Milo Talks, and also you can email me at milotalkstostrangers@gmail.com.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.